chosen, not always do people understand who you are. They look from the outside and think that your calm is weakness. They judge your silence as if it were a lack of strength. But you know who is called by God carries a mark. And this mark does not come from appearance. It comes from purpose. There are people who forget that you do not walk alone. They think they can harm, hinder, or betray without anything happening. But touching a chosen is touching something sacred. Heaven may quiet itself for a time, but it is not silent. Everything done against you has a return, and not out of revenge, out of justice. Some make hidden plans. They speak ill behind your back. They try to erase you in silence. But the spiritual universe does not close its eyes. Time may pass, but the harvest always comes. Those who sow pain in the life of a chosen, sooner or later, feel the reflection of that in areas they cannot control. Today, you will discover the 11 signs that fall upon those who rise against someone who has a purpose. Visible, painful signals, and often irreversible. This is not a curse. This is spiritual consequence. And knowing these signs will show you that, even in silence, you have always been defended by the heavens. Follow our channel and turn on notifications. Signal 1. Their paths begin to close. Those who try to stop a chosen think they are merely defending themselves, asserting themselves, or seeking revenge. But they are touching something that was not raised by human hands. When this happens, heaven does not respond with war. It responds with silence. And in this silence, the doors that were previously open start to close. Plans that were working begin to go wrong without explanation. Luck becomes delay. The important connections break. What was simple begins to require double effort. Everything starts to stall. It's as if life, in a subtle way, placed an invisible brake on everything the person tries to do. Some try to push through. They go harder, change environments, change strategies, but nothing flows. And the problem is not the scenario, it's the intention. Because you do not build the future by trampling on those whom God has separated. Time itself begins to fight against those who try to wound a chosen. The most curious thing is that most don't notice it immediately. They think they are going through a difficult moment. But the moment prolongs, and the cycle repeats. Nothing works, nothing sustains, nothing materializes. Because those who act against someone's mission close their own road. The chosen does not need to move a finger. God answers by closing doors to those who tried to pry with deceit, envy, or betrayal. And these doors do not open with effort, only with true repentance. Until then, everything the person touches will seem incomplete. Because spiritual justice is invisible, but always certain. Signal 2. They lose peace of mind. The mind does not rest when the heart knows it has erred. Whoever touches a chosen may try to go on with life normally, but inside something changes. The peace that existed disappears, and no accomplishment, no pleasure, no distraction can fill the emptiness that begins to form in the spirit. Sleep ceases to be light. Thoughts become heavy. Guilt does not speak with shouts, but with silent repetitions. The memory of what was done does not go away. And even when the person tries to ignore it, the heart keeps pressing. Because conscience knows it touched something sacred. This loss of peace grows. It comes first as an itch, then as discomfort. Soon it becomes a weight. And no amount of masking helps. No pretending helps. No wearing a smiling mask helps. Those who hurt someone for no reason feel inside what they can never hide on the outside. Even surrounded by people, there is a void. Even with apparent victories, there is dissatisfaction. Because what happens on the outside does not resolve what was provoked inside. Those who act against the chosen create a noise in their own spirit, and this noise only quiets with repentance and healing. While the chosen remains in peace, the one who tried to wound him loses his own peace, because to mess with someone who carries light is to provoke heaven, and heaven responds with silence and weight. It is not punishment, it is consequence. It is the soul saying, "You touched something you should not have. Now you will have to hear what you did." Signal 3. They are surrounded by inexplicable delays. Time begins to work against those who act against a chosen. Everything that was fast becomes slow. What was certain becomes doubt. What was guaranteed slips through hands. Life seems to stall, and the more the person runs, the more they feel they are standing still, because you do not advance by trampling on those who have a calling. These delays do not come with fanfare. They appear slowly. First, a project stalls, then a relationship cools, then a door closes, and suddenly everything seems suspended. The person is alive, but without movement. They are occupied, but without progress, because time slows when the intention was wrong. Life starts sending signals. Opportunities vanish. People drift away. Routine repeats. Nothing new happens. And what was promising turns into frustration. This is not bad luck. It is correction. It is heaven saying, "You harmed someone who carries something greater." Now you will need to stop and reflect. Time becomes a warning. A spiritual reminder that you do not meddle with someone else's purpose without consequences. And while repentance does not come, the clock does not run in your favor. Unexplainable delays are one of the clearest signs that something needs to be fixed at the origin, not in the outcome. Those who harmed a chosen enter a cycle where everything stalls, and no matter how much strength they have, time will not move forward again until the heart becomes clean. Because time respects those who carry truth, but it blocks those who try to touch what is eternal. Signal 4. Your masks fall in public. Those who try to harm a chosen often do so with calm, strategy, and a clean appearance. On the outside, they seem good. They speak well, present themselves as trustworthy, walk with a smile. But all of this is facades, and time takes care of dropping each disguise. Because God never allows lies to prevail over those who walk in truth. In the beginning, the mask even works. It deceives friends, family, colleagues. The false image holds up for a while. But those who are light always end up revealing what is hidden, not out of gossip, not out of vengeance, but because the presence of someone true exposes what is false, even in silence. The mask's fall can happen in a leaked conversation, a poorly calculated action, an unexpected reaction. And what was hidden surfaces. People around begin to see clearly who that person really is. Trust breaks, and reputation starts to crumble. Lies get tangled. Stories don't align. Those who stood by start to drift away, not even knowing why. It is the truth acting, pushing away what was not built with integrity. And whoever tried to seem fair in front of others now faces looks of doubt and embarrassing silence. The chosen does not need to make a scandal. Spiritual justice does not need a stage. Those who walk in truth will always be defended by their own essence, and those who hid behind smooth words end up exposed by their own actions. Because time has eyes, and truth has power. Signal 5. Relationships become unstable. The energy that someone carries affects everything around them. When a person decides to hurt a chosen, that energy begins to reflect in their own relationships. What was firm starts to wobble. Old bonds break, partnerships wear out. Even at home, the environment changes. Because those who plant pain reap distance. Conversations become more tense. Patience diminishes. Arguments increase. Small conflicts take on exaggerated proportions. This happens because a heart filled with guilt, injustice, or pride begins to spread instability wherever it goes. It is impossible to maintain harmony when living against the truth. Marriages face fights with no clear reason. Friendships unravel in a cold way. Work connections break. Even the strongest ties begin to weaken. It is not punishment. It is reflection. The disorganized interior disrupts the exterior, and what was built without truth begins to crumble naturally. Those who seek to hurt a chosen mess with a greater force, and that force does not let injustice hide for long. Relational instability is the reflection of a soul that has lost alignment with what is right. And until there is repentance, relationships continue to fall apart. The chosen does not need to repay in kind. The mere fact of remaining steadfast is enough. Those who cause the pain begin to realize that their return has become a desert, because peace and stability only endure where truth dwells, and where there was malice, true love finds no more space. Signal 6. Money slips through the hands. Whoever touches a chosen sows ruin in areas that were once stable, and one of the first to feel this is the financial area. The money that seemed constant begins to disappear. Profits turn into losses. What was profit becomes a loss. Unexpected expenses arise, and no matter how much is earned, nothing sticks. It's like putting water in a leaky bucket. The more you try to fill it, the more it leaks. This financial instability is not the result of poor management, but of energy misdirected. Because money carries the energy of intention. And when the intention is to harm, what is gained through injustice dissolves over time. Even if the person is in a good position, has a thriving business, or receives good opportunities, everything starts to have a short deadline. The blessings that arrived on the basis of lies or betrayal lose their strength. Money does not settle, does not yield, does not flow. Because where there is no truth, there is no lasting provision. Spiritual abundance protects the chosen. But those who try to block their mission lose access to stability. It is heaven saying, "You touched what was mine." And that touch generates consequence. Because prosperity may be visible for a time, but if it does not have a clean root, it disappears without a trace. The chosen does not need to wish harm. They only need to stay faithful. Because those who walk with God are protected in areas they cannot even imagine. And those who tried to bring them down end up being brought down by their own hands when they realize no resource sustains itself when one tries to build on injustice. Signal 7. The physical body begins to feel the weight. The body is an extension of the soul. When someone tries to harm a chosen, the impact is not limited to the spiritual world. In a short time, the weight of the error begins to reflect in the physical. Unexplained pains arise. Fatigue becomes constant. The mind grows heavy. And even doctors may not know exactly what is happening. It is as if the organism senses that something is out of place. Energies become unbalanced. Guilt, even if denied, weighs. And the body responds with symptoms that cannot be cured with medicine, but with repentance. Because the problem is not physical. It is spiritual, and the body only reveals what the heart tries to hide. Insomnia, emotional exhaustion, anxiety crises. Everything appears unexpectedly, and even if the person seeks help, relief is temporary. Nothing fully resolves, because the root of the evil is not in the body, but in the soul that bears the consequence of having touched someone who carries a purpose. The soul demands what was done, the spirit reacts, and the body, without understanding, suffers. This pain does not come from outside. It comes from within. It is the reflection of a truth not faced, and until the person recognizes the origin of the pain, the body continues to cry out for help. The chosen remains in peace, even in silence. Those who tried to harm them carry a burden that cannot be explained. Because the body never lies. It reveals what the heart does not have the courage to admit. Signal 8. They lose credibility and respect. The voice of someone who acts against a chosen may be heard for a time, but sooner or later, respect disappears. Trust evaporates, influence loses strength, and what was once admired becomes doubt. Because whoever tries to extinguish another's light ends up revealing their own darkness. Respect is not built only with words, but with posture. And when the posture is broken by envy, falsehood, or betrayal, people around notice. Even without knowing the details, they sense something is wrong, and they distance themselves. Because where there is no truth, respect cannot remain. Influence may last a while, but without integrity, it collapses. The reputation of someone who attacks a chosen begins to crack. Small actions reveal major flaws. And even if they try to maintain the appearance, people's hearts no longer connect with that person's presence. Those who try to exalt themselves by diminishing others end up diminishing themselves, because credibility is something you feel. And the human spirit perceives when there is malice behind beautiful actions. It's only a matter of time until the false falls and the true remains. The chosen does not need to explain themselves. Their own light reveals who is who, and those who tried to extinguish that light lose their shine before others. Signal 9. They live in repetitive cycles. Some think they are walking, but they are just going in circles. They move to cities, change environments, change people. Yet the same problems continue. Because it is not the external world that needs to change, it is the heart. And those who tried to harm a chosen enter this cycle without noticing. Life stalls at the same point. They try new starts, but always return to the same end. They create projects, relationships, ideas, but everything ends the same way. It's as if they are trapped in an invisible labyrinth. Nothing advances, because harming a chosen creates a spiritual blockage that prevents true growth. This cycle does not break with effort. It only breaks with truth, with repentance, with the courage to look back and understand where everything started going wrong. And often, this point is precisely at the moment they try to destroy someone whom God had separated. Life does not let you move forward until the lesson is learned. Time repeats itself. Errors return, frustrations accumulate, because the heart insists on fleeing from what it needs to face. And the cycle continues, as if the person were walking but stuck in the same place. Meanwhile, the chosen keeps going. Even in silence, even wounded, they continue to advance. Because who carries truth breaks cycles, while those who tried to destroy him remain trapped in their own mistakes. Signal 10. They feel loneliness even when surrounded. The presence of other people does not always mean true companionship. Those who try to harm a chosen may be surrounded by friends, colleagues, and family, but inside, they feel an emptiness they cannot explain. It is a silent loneliness that arises when the bond with the spiritual light is broken, even if unconsciously. This loneliness is not visible from the outside. Sometimes the environment is full of life, laughter, and movement, but inside, the heart is absent. It is like being in a crowded place and yet feeling that no one sees your soul. Because the truth is that the spirit knows when it is in debt to something greater. When someone harms a chosen, a part of their own spirit moves away from the connection to good. This disconnection generates isolation. No matter how hard they try to distract themselves, occupy the mind or body, the feeling of emptiness returns. Because it's not the physical presence that fills, it's the presence of truth. People begin to drift away for no reason. Bonds that were once strong become superficial. Energy no longer aligns. Encounters lose their charm. And the most painful is that often the person does not understand why they are losing connections. The answer lies in what they themselves provoked. When the soul feels it has erred, it seeks to hide it with company. But nothing substitutes the peace of having done the right thing. And the most valuable company is the one that remains when everything falls apart. Those who tried to harm a chosen, unknowingly, also close the door to that true spiritual companionship. Heaven does not need to isolate anyone. Guilt isolates. One's own attitude closes doors. One's own energy repels. And this emptiness grows, not for lack of people, but for lack of truth. Because those who tried to snuff out someone's light lost the chance to walk beside them. The chosen does not need to seek revenge. His very presence begins to cause discomfort in those who tried to harm him. Not because he does something, but because his light reminds the other of what they did. And for that reason, even unintentionally, many withdraw. The weight of being near becomes greater than the comfort of presence. Spiritual loneliness is one of the quietest forms of divine justice. It corrodes without making a sound, because it is not body loneliness, it is soul loneliness, and this is the hardest to cure. Signal 11. They are forced to see who you really are. The greatest punishment for those who try to harm a chosen is not loss, exposure, or pain. It is being forced to watch, with their own eyes, the victory of the one who tried to bring them down. Because that victory does not come with revenge, it comes with purpose. It is heaven's answer saying, I have always been with him. At first they laughed, they judged, they said you wouldn't go far. They planted doubt, spread words, rooted against you. But time is the greatest revealer. And while you remained in silence, heaven worked. And when the time came to exalt you, there was no way to hide. They saw, and they continue to see. That vision is inevitable. God allows the eyes of those who hurt you to stay open just to see where he took you, because it is not about humiliation, but about justice. The same mouth that spoke against now falls silent. The same mind that doubted now recognizes. Seeing you standing, growing, advancing, even after all they tried to do, is the clearest answer heaven could give. And the most painful for those who wished for your end is to realize that nothing, absolutely nothing, could stop what was written about you. They may not say it, but they feel it. Each of your steps disturbs. Each of your achievements weighs, because it constantly reminds them that they were wrong. And not only were they wrong, they were fighting against something they could not defeat, against a promise, against a purpose, against God. This revelation is not to hurt. It is to teach, to show that it is not worth raising a hand against someone who was set apart. That one should not play with what is sacred, that what was built in prayer should not be destroyed. The presence of the chosen disturbs because it carries memory. Their light exposes the shadow of those who try to extinguish it. And as much as they want to ignore it, the success of those they hurt remains before their eyes, like a constant reminder that heaven does not fail. You did not need to prove anything. You did not need to argue, nor justify yourself. Your journey spoke for you. Your steadfastness shouted louder than any attack. And now, those who underestimated you are forced to acknowledge, because heaven does not allow history to end in injustice. This is divine justice. Those who tried to extinguish your light are now being forced to see you shine. And this isn't about ego, it's about purpose. Your brightness is a response. Your victory is a silent message that no one can annul God's plan. And your staying is proof that heaven does not err. Chosen, you were never alone. Even on days when you seemed invisible, you were surrounded by promises. When it seemed that everything was at a standstill, God was moving the pieces in the unseen. He was protecting, preparing, and building something greater than your eyes could see. Now is the time to walk firmly, with humility in the heart, but with conviction in the soul. Do not be distracted by the ruins of those who tried to hurt you. Stay focused on what is being born within you, because the new that comes is greater than the old that hurt you. You won the not because you shouted louder, but because you stood upright when everything said it was time to fall. You won because you did not become corrupt, because you kept your heart, and because you understood that your mission is greater than your hurts. This journey is only the beginning. What is to come will justify everything you have lived, and every sign that fell on those who tried to bring you down will be remembered not with hatred, but with gratitude, because they were the confirmation that you were truly chosen. If this word spoke to you, write here in the comments, "I am chosen." But don't do this only from emotion. Write as someone who owns their identity, as someone who recognizes they carry something different. And subscribe to this channel not only to follow videos, but to walk with a community that shares the same calling. Here, you are not alone. Here, you are reminded of what you carry. Here, you find strength to continue, even when the world does not understand your mission. We are in this journey together,